Hello, this is DPI group number one, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Princess Mononoke. To start, my name is RaaSia, your moderator.
I'm Kayla Cash.
I'm Kameron Sanders.
I'm Cayla Carroll.
All right, great. So we introduce everybody. So just to get straight into it, let's start talking about the music. Like, how did you guys feel about the way the music was introduced to the movie, and like how it played like a significant role in like everything?
Okay, so personally, I thought the score really stood on its own. Like, I think it did its job, which was basically to lure you into this battle that's happening between both man versus nature, as each had their own themes. And it all started with like the opening score, which really gripped your attention, along with the opening scene, of course, to just like sell you on like, okay, what's happening in this world? What's the conflict? What's the era? Which, of course, everything reflected around Japan. And I don't know the name of the person who composed. I think it's Joe Hisashi, but he focused on, I like, you can tell he focused on incorporating traditional Japanese instruments, from what I know, with the modern orchestra to really like bring to life this movie and to really suck you in. And for me, the music definitely helped kind of engage in like, the reality of what's going on, because did what else the score was supposed to do, which was sell you the fantasy. But specifically, you could definitely hear like the flutes and the woodwinds, which he loved. That was in the background of everything. But they really, I think he used crescendos and decrescendos very well by like kind of selling you like, okay, when you're in the forest, you kind of get a nostalgic, whimsical nature that's going on with like, the animals in the background and the conflict, and it kind of just like the fantasy of the animal spirits and the conflict that's what's going on and the threat of the humans. But he also did a good job, of course, like, in the story, there's no clear good guy or bad guy. But when you went to the human settlements and those themes, like I said, it was a little bit more bombastic. It was a little bit more strong-willed, because they're just, at the end of the day, humans trying to like have a living. But it's like, thunderous, like very, very loud, and very, very like in your face, because that's also when he was like developing the characters. And I feel like the characters themselves were very strong and strong-willed, but that's another topic. But overall, like I said, I think that each theme that he presented reflected what it was supposed to be at the time. I think my favorite theme was, I think, the Karuma. Like I forgot the name of it, but those little like animal fantasy creatures that came out, they were really cutesy. So he played a really cutesy theme, and that was awesome. But also the Ironwork Town theme would definitely help sell you that, okay, they're making like, this is like the most advanced thing that's happening at the time, and this is like the most powerful thing, and that's why they're able to win with guns and iron and everything like that. And so I feel like this overall, the music did its job in telling you what's going on the screen.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I could have said it better myself. Does anybody have anything else to say about the music and its significance? If not, that is totally okay, because we're gonna move on to like the actors and the casting. Like, how did y'all feel about that? Do you guys feel like the voice actors, they played a good role? Like the voices matched? I don't know. I listened to mine in English, so it was a little bit off, but I still feel like the whole entire movie was able to flow. But yeah, what about y'all?
Yeah, I think the actors did well portraying their animated characters. Some of the casting I thought was familiar to me were Jada Pinkett Smith as Toki and Keith David as Akoto Nushi. And these characters I feel like were pivotal because they were like down for their people. So like Toki, she was down for the woman in her little tribe, and Okoto, was like the head of that specific beast, god, or whatever. And I think also you see like Ashitaka and San being conflicted on who to trust and who to like see as virtuous and true and just and justified. With Ashitaka, he didn't really know who to trust, and San, she was like, I'm a wolf girl. My people are wolf. I'm not human. I hate all humans. But she see Ashitaka, a human, being virtuous, being brave, um, trying to seek justice in like their land or whatever. So yeah, overall, I think the two protagonists, San or Princess Mononoke, and Ashitaka, were well portrayed.
Yeah, I definitely like those characters because they played like I feel like Ashitaka played a really good role. Like it was like you could be a good person. Which yeah, and then the princess or San, she was just like, nah man, you can't be a good person. Good humans don't exist. But I like how they were able to make the contrast and make it work at the end. So I was just like, oh, look at the two characters. But
Right.
next we can talk about like the editing and like the camera work and like the different transitions that was used into like the magical world and like in the forest and stuff like that. So how do y'all feel about that?
So I'll begin to talk about that. So I really do appreciate how realistic the animation was displayed throughout the film, and the scenes had like very vivid colors, and it was bright. But until something happens that was like a mood change from like good to bad, like the lights would dimmer, and this would like give the viewers like, okay, something bad is about to happen, and so on. And also how the background art of the film was very detailed. Sometimes in animation, the background is not as detailed as it was in this one. So I think that was very well animated, and how it shows like a paint like landscape, and how the setting and camera work connected with the nature, and it captures the beauty and essence of nature. And in the film, like nature is presented with life, and it almost has like a spiritual presence, and it uses the different creatures or gods to dictate like the different aspects of the forest. And also, especially when I go back to the details, like when they show even the motion in the characters, there's a lot of detail, and it overall has a lot of depth and layers that create a deep meaning, even with the smallest details in the film. And it like shows mature themes, but also like the mystical creatures and the open space and the forest and the colors and textures you can see throughout the animation. And also, I liked how the transitions between the scenes were smooth, and it like they um they did really well with storytelling in the film.
Wow, you're a very analytical person. That was good. I don't feel like I would have paid that much attention, but that was awesome. So props to you, man. If anybody does anybody have anything else to say about the camera work and the editing? If not, then we can go ahead and talk about the script, which is me. So overall, I felt like although it was a very long movie, I like how it all came through at the end. Like in the beginning, I was just like, bro, Ashitaka's gonna die. These wolf people, well, the wolves don't want to help him, the hogs don't want to help him, the humans don't want to help him. So I was like, this is really crazy. I can't tell like which way this is gonna go. But as the story develops, you could tell like how all the different animals and even the people were like kind of stunned by Ashitaka's like willingness to just help whoever was in need. He didn't really see a good side and a bad side. He was just like, there just needs to be peace. And so I really respected that about him. He didn't ever change like his morals, or like even when he was falling in love, he was not like, she's always right. He was still like, no, you still need to like spare people's lives, and you still need to do what's right, and blah 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 blah. So seeing that was very beautiful. Not beautiful, but it was really refreshing, because I was like, okay, a lot of people end up changing what they think just because they fall in love. I also thought it was interesting how they had like a strong, like they had strong women roles. Like the women were the ones fighting, and they all looked up to a Lady Estabashi. If I said her name right, I think so. But they all looked up to her, and then they looked up to San and stuff like that. So it was really nice seeing just women play the important parts in the movie, and like the men actually having to respect what the women say, because you don't really see that often, especially during that time period. Well, it wasn't that long ago, but still, even now. So it was just really nice to see that. So, but yeah, that's what I have to say about the script. Does somebody else have something else to say? Okay, so after script, we're going to talk about the costumes and settings. So how do y'all feel about the way that the characters are dressed throughout the movie? The costumes didn't really change, but yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, like you said, like it's an animation, so like the costumes don't really change as much. But you can see, since this is like a Japanese film, you can see the Japanese style within their costumes, like Lady Ibashi or Ganza. They exemplified like the Japanese culture and the way they had their hair, and like Gonza with the mustache. Also San being raised by wolves, being the wolf girl, being Princess Mononoke, or yeah, however you say it. She's dressed in wolf's fur, because that's, you know, how she's represented, how she represents herself. Um, Ashitaka also wore like a covering over his head, but throughout the film he like shows his face more. I thought, because it kind of showed his bravery in a sense. The setting is in like 14th century Japanese culture. You can see how the setting and the costume like connects, in that you see like the film is like the harmony of animals, humans. It was going all good until a shift happened. You know, Ashitaka, he had this animal scar that they call like the demon. They don't want to be demonized or whatever. So yeah, you can see how the humans and like the animals connected to their environment with the costumes and within this setting. So yeah, if anybody has anything to add, y'all can add.
I feel like you did very well with that as well. Yeah. Okay, so we can move on to psychological impacts. Like, how do y'all feel that, yeah, how do y'all feel about the psychological impact, or if there was one in the film?
I can start. I didn't know what I was getting into when I was like starting to watch the film. Because like I don't really watch that many Japanese films, but especially if it's like animated. But I think one of the psychological impacts was basically how man um, exploits and like damages their environment when it comes to like greed, and when it comes to being on top, wanting all the power, being power struck. I think that was one of the psychological impacts you've seen especially with like who Ashitaka looked up to, like the old Jiko Boo, I think is how you pronounce his name. He was like supposed to be wise, but he ended up being like just wanting all the power and stuff like that. So I feel like that was one of the psychological impacts of the film.
No, yeah, I agree about what you were saying in the beginning about how we were able to see how like men just is like men are like greedy basically, and we want everything. And so yeah, when I was watching it, I was just like, you fools, why can't y'all live in peace? And like that was basically the whole theme. Like we're never satisfied. It's kind of like
Right.
if we can't get this, we can't be happy at all. And so yeah, I was like, this is a common theme in many movies with man and nature. So that was just very interesting to watch. But yeah, that's what I have to say about the psychological impact, basically. Because I was gonna really say the same thing. Anybody else?
I have around the same idea you guys have for the psychological impact. Like I said, I think, like I said, the central theme, of course, is just men versus nature. But I also feel like it was painted in a way where there's no definite good side to it, because even though they were fighting against nature most of the time to make sense, it was kind of proving the law of nature. Like, so they were just trying to like basically, carve their own path. And even though it's, of course, that doesn't really mean living in peace, but at the end of the day, they were the fittest. They were the biggest things they were concerned about was the guns, and the animals were in the right because, of course, the destruction that was going on. But ultimately, they did give into the corruption and the rage, which caused them to like both alter their appearance and soon they alter themselves, like especially with like the beginning. And then of course for me it was like the ape scene where they were like, we're just gonna like give up, kill the humans, eat their flesh, and then once we eat their flesh we'll be more powerful than them. I'm like, that's, I get it, like save the rainforest and save like the woods, but at the same time that's pretty drastic. So I don't know. I guess for me, like I said, it just showed like basically the divide and conflict that is between man and nature. It's like, while we should coexist, also should we stop the progress that was being made? Because you also had a lot of good humans that were involved in that situations.
I agree with what you guys said with the main theme of man versus nature, and yeah, how both sides like they have their like redeeming qualities, but they're both flawed, and like to show how like they're capable of coexisting like peacefully with each other. So I think that was like different from like a traditional film where it's like there's a bad side and there's a good side. So I thought that was very interesting with this film.
All right, y'all. I feel like we did very well. If that's everything that everybody has to say, we can go ahead and end it. This is DPI group number 1.